comments. I recognize the member from Ottawa-Vanier. Further debate.
So I will be sharing my time with the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. First, I want to just make sure that we recognize that there was a part of the 2016 budget, a 2.5 increases to the healthcare budget, and that's greater than the rate of inflation. So we are continuing to invest in healthcare because it is part of responding adequately to the needs of all Ontarians. But to come back to the bill that's in front of us, I'm raising tonight because it is important that we recognize the context of the bill as well as the different constituencies that are being addressed by the bill, and in my view are addressed fairly. The context of the bill has been alluded to several times. I had the privilege over my career of speaking and being involved in many decisions and litigation surrounding the right to end one's life. I was involved in the first Rosiers decision, which was overturned by the Carter decision more recently. And the reason why the Carter decision was important is the court recognized fundamentally that people should have some choices. Difficult choices, but we should reflect the dignity of people in making choices about their end of their life. They also recognize, and that was crucial in the decision, that we do not want and we never want anyone to be pressured into ending one's life prematurely. And we know that we have to make sure that we have the processes to protect people from being pressured, induced, pushed into a decision that is irrevocable. So the same difficulty of trying on one hand to protect people and from being pressured and pushed, and at the same time recognizing the ability and the difficult choice that some people faced with incredible pains want to make, is the same thing that occurred when Parliament addressed the issue in last June. And I want to read a little bit, in a way, the constraints that Parliament imposed, because these constraints form part of where Ontario is leading. The constraints mean that only people that are 18 years of age, that have a grievous and irremediable medical condition, and that have made a voluntary request for medical assistance and given informed consent can access that service. And grievous and irremediable medical condition is a serious and incurable illness, disease, or disability, an advanced state or irreversible decline in capability, and that the suffering is immense. And I think that's what's important here, is the constraints that are put on the criminal code, through the criminal code, are part of what it will frame a little bit the way in which Ontario must proceed. We cannot go beyond this, but we cannot go below this. This is a right that's now being conferred to some people to have access to making that decision in difficult circumstances. Now, the bill proceeds from that. It proceeds from the fact that it's now the responsibility of Ontario to ensure that this choice is made in the best possible circumstances. So it does several aspects, this bill. It does provide, and I think I want to emphasize this, it does provide for coroners to continue to have the ability to investigate deaths that would not be suspicious, that would not comply with the limits of the criminal code. And importantly, in the bill, it does say in 2 years we should review the protocol, because we know that many people think that the restrictions of the criminal code are too restrictive or too limitative. We are in uncharted territory, and we know that we have to continue to have this difficult conversation. The second group that the bill speaks to is the people for whom it is not an option. For moral reason, for religious reasons, some people don't want this option. And we know that we continue to provide good palliative care in Ontario and will continue to do that. And these people are protected because the power of the coroners ensures that there will not be no pressure and no inducement to end a life prematurely. Now, the other group that is protected are the people that wishes to make that difficult choice, and they need to be protected to have access to ensure that their descendants have life insurance or benefits under workers' compensation. And finally, the last two groups of people that are protected in the legislation are the nurse practitioners and the doctors who choose to engage with and serve their patients. They are protected from liability and their privacy is protected. And similarly, we have to read this act in light of the protection for freedom of conscience that exists in our charter. No doctor, no nurse practitioner will ever be forced to do something that is against his or her conscience in the context of the bill. So I think we know that some people have discomfort about this. It's about the operation and the mise en œuvre of the bill that these will be resolved. Many suggestions have been made, and we're certainly going to continue to look at this. I just want to close to say how important this bill is. It's our responsibility to respond to the change in the law in a manner that will make it feasible, appropriate, and protect people. This is the right thing to do for Ontario. Thank you.